Okay, solving quadratic equations. Quadratic equations, what they have different than linear is they're going to have an x squared instead of just plain old x. So quadratic equations can be a little bit more difficult, but not too bad. So if at all possible, we're going to solve them like a linear equation. First off, if we can combine like terms, minus 8 turns into a plus 8 when you move it over. So 3x squared equals 27. Times 3 is going to turn into a divided by 3, so x squared equals 9. However, we don't have x entirely by itself. We've still got that squared attached to it. And the rule is, in order to get rid of a square, to move it to the other side, we're going to do plus and minus the square root. Now, very important that we remember this plus and minus. It's not as big of a deal in geometry. However, in algebra, it's going to be a much bigger deal. So the square root of 9 here we know is 3, so therefore my x value is equal to plus and minus 3. Now there is an issue. Sometimes we can't get the x by itself because we have an x squared and an x. So we're going to solve these a little bit different. Now later on we'll teach you how to solve this with factoring, but for today I'm going to teach you my method. And my method, again, this is a method that I created, that I came up with. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the 3 in numbers, the one in front of the x squared, the one in front of the x, and the one that's a constant that don't have an x. And here's the process. I'm going to call it left leg, right leg, because it looks like 2 little legs. Left leg, we're going to take that number in the middle. We're going to take the opposite of it. Since it's negative, we're going to make it positive, and we're going to half it. We're going to take that number and multiply it times itself, and you get a 9. We're going to take his 2 hands here, 1 and 8. We're going to multiply them together to form his head. Okay, and your final answer is going to be his left leg or left foot plus and minus the square root. This always, you just plug into this formula. We're going to subtract these two numbers in this order. 9 minus 8 is 1. And then we're going to divide the whole thing by this number. If it's a 1, we really don't have to worry about dividing by it because we know anything divided by 1 is just that number. So my 2 answers are 3 plus and minus. The square root of 1 is 1. So now we're going to do 3 plus 1, which is 4. That's one answer. And 3 minus 1, which is 2. That's the other answer. Let's work a few more. Let's go ahead and skip down and do number 4 right here. Now, a lot of times, instead of rewriting this with the 3 numbers, I'll just do the numbers right here. Okay? Left foot or left leg is going to be the opposite, half. Multiply that number times itself. The head, we're going to multiply the 2 hands together, and it gives us 18, and that is his head. Again, then we plug it into the formula. This number, plus and minus the square root of the difference. We're going to subtract those 2 numbers. Then we're going to divide by, if this is 1, we don't have to worry about it. But if it is a number other than 1, we have to divide by it. That's your final answer. Because we don't know the square root of 7, so we can't go any further. Now, one thing that's slightly different. I don't really want to take half of this middle number. If your middle number is an odd number, what you can do and get a perfectly fine answer, you can double all 3 of these. 2, -4, -16. It makes it a little bit easier to where taking half of it now is just positive 7 instead of being 3.5. So left foot 7, right foot 49. Head, multiply these 2 hands together and it gives me -32. Final answer. Left leg, plus and minus the square root. We're going to subtract these 2 numbers. 49 and 32 gives me 81. And I know the square root of 81, so that's something I'm going to have to do. Then I'm going to divide by this number. Since it's not a 1, I'm going to have to put it. So my 2 answers are 7 plus and minus. Square root of 81 is 9. And then we simply do it. 7 plus 9 is 16 divided by 2 is the first answer, or 8. The second answer is 7 minus 9, or -2, divided by 2, which gives you a final answer of -1. So there's your 2 answers. Let's try 1 or 2 more. Again, left leg, right leg, and head. The 3 numbers are 2, 4, and 2. Final answer is left leg, plus and minus the square root. We're going to subtract these 2 numbers. We're going to divide by whatever that number there is. Final answer. Last one, since this is an odd number, we're doubling everything. 6, -10, and 6. Left leg, right leg are +5 and a 25. The head is 36. So my final answer is 5 plus and minus the square root. Subtract these two numbers. That's a negative 11 and divided by 6. Now later on we'll learn about imaginary numbers. But for geometry problems, anytime you have the square root of a negative, we can't take the square root of a negative and actually give us a real number. So any problem you run up on in geometry to where you have the square root of a negative, you're simply going to put no solution.